Minigames. There's more of them, and it's time to see them. Completing the remainder will be Spectre, a staple of the series who always has a different driver. So this time the driver is Chucky Floop. What a horrible name. He literally won a radio contest, the prize of which was a Twisted Metal vehicle. Obviously that prize was contributed by Calypso, who I guess wanted a random weirdo to join Twisted Metal. Now Chucky has to win another contest in order to get his real prize. Hopefully by the time he does so, he will decide what he wants, because right now he has no idea. He's still going to drive with the same expertise and murderous tenacity as everyone else though, so he's got a chance. And for our purposes, he's going to have to jump through a bunch of extra hoops, starting with the Egypt minigame. We skipped over Egypt in favor of Paris in the first set of minigames, so we're going back to it now. It's an obstacle course, like so many of the others, and a fairly simple one at that. Not to say it's easy, all the obstacles will instant kill you, but it's all fairly self-explanatory. What you see is what you get. It is better to go about these with a fast vehicle over Warthog, which we had last time. Not that the time limits were ever much of an issue, and they especially are not an issue here. We have 2.5 minutes, and I cannot conceive of a circumstance where you could possibly take that long to complete this course. Not even these ancient Egyptian lasers could slow you down that much, and they are by far the trickiest obstacle. Not only that, but something I didn't know when I did the last minigames video is that the difficulty we're playing on also affects the minigames. And we're still on hard mode, the highest difficulty. So this 2.5 minute time limit is the tightest one that they'll throw at you. Every time you lower the difficulty, you add 30 seconds to that time limit. And even though we're on hard mode, we're coming in more than a minute under the limit. So I don't know why they bothered with the time limit on this one. We were airborne when we crossed the finish line, so now we slowly and angelically float to the ground and break the lock, which is facing the wrong direction now. It wastes a few seconds, but we certainly have that time to spare after how well we did on the course. Moving on to the Roman Ruins minigame, we have 2 minutes to do another obstacle course. This one is super zoomed out. The only obstacle is gigantic TNT barrels that they redesigned so that they would be visible from such a zoomed out distance. So there's really no threat on this entire course, it's just drive as fast as you can. And be sure to keep an eye on my movement as I go through this. As far as I can tell, there is nowhere that I lost any time. Like, maybe I could have saved a second or so if I hadn't bumped the wall there. But other than that, this should be about as close to perfect as humanly possible. I skipped this mission as Warthog because Warthog's too slow to complete it in the time limit. So I figured I'm doing the rest as Spectre, much faster car, should be able to get the time limit there. But I wasn't. On hard difficulty, the time limit is 1:30, and no matter what I do with any car that I play as, it takes longer than that to complete the course. So this is the one minigame where I had to bump the difficulty down to normal, because it is impossible otherwise, as far as I can tell. I did also say that the first minigame, the Destruction Derby with the taxis, is impossible for most vehicles, and that is true, but only on hard difficulty. On normal, any car could theoretically complete it, even ATV. It would just be very, very difficult. But they increase your ramming damage the lower you put the difficulty, to the point that on the lowest difficulty, you can one-hit kill all the taxis. And that's the Roman Ruins course done with. By far the easiest of the bunch, but I see no way to shave 6 seconds off of that time. Just gotta play on any difficulty but hard if you want that deathmatch level. But now we can move on to Russia, the alternate level to Greece, which we saw last time. And it's an interesting one. It's not a race, we got to destroy a bunch of enemy tanks on an ice rink. All you have is your machine gun, and all they have is theirs. The strategy to it is extremely simple. Just got to get behind the tank. Their turning is so slow that they won't be able to hit you for a couple of seconds. By then, you'll hopefully have moved so that they continue to be unable to hit you. All the while, you have to stay facing the tank in order for your machine guns to hit them, because there is a time limit of 1.5 minutes, and it is actually quite strict. If you're not landing constant hits, you will not finish fast enough to unlock AXEL. Each successive tank has more HP and deals more damage if they hit you. So the moment they spawn in is when they're at their most dangerous, so they could spawn in facing directly towards you and get a free hit. So you may just want to throw up a shield as soon as you finish off one tank. Like so. There's also ice physics that make the very precise actions we're performing all the more difficult. And if you ever bump into the tanks, you'll take a bit of damage that'll add up quickly. So this is a very difficult minigame. If you just want to unlock AXEL for yourself and this is too frustrating for you, the infinite damage cheat works here to allow you to one-shot all the tanks for an easy win. Most of the other minigames will automatically disable any cheats that would make them any easier, but this is a notable exception, and I don't think there's any shame in it. But it's a fun minigame if you do choose to play it. And now we are back in the Russia level, because this is the most over-designed level in the game, and there's still some things I want to show off that I missed last time. First, this ice patch out in the central courtyard actually has ice physics, just like the RINK from the minigame. And the building up ahead, I specifically rammed into and said you can't go in there during the main run. Turns out I just didn't ram hard enough, because of course you can. And inside is this hall of portraits. Blurry, monochromatic portraits. They don't appear to be of anyone in particular, and they do repeat a few times. But there's also this second level with more destructibles. Can blow out the windows and most of the wall with them. Now, I am relatively certain that we've seen all there is to see of Russia. So, onto the Transylvania minigame. It's another obstacle course with another 1.5 minutes. You start off having to wait for this platform, because everything's on a global cycle, and this way they can ensure that the minigame plays out the same way every time. Except for you might possibly just waste 5 seconds at the very beginning through no fault of your own. Wasting time really is just the name of this game though. At no point do you have to take any sort of risk like I just did, and doing so will only save us maybe a tiny bit of time in the end. More often than not, it'll just do nothing, because the next set of platforms you'll still have to wait for. You can really tell this one was just slapped together out of a perfunctory need to have a minigame to go with their new PS2 exclusive level. The visual design is great, but the game itself just offers nothing. And that's all there is to it. Just really quick and boring. So while I'm here, I'll show this off. If you try to go the wrong way on any of the games that have a linear path, it'll start a countdown that kills you after 5 seconds. Obviously it doesn't come into play here, but it is good to know as we move on to the next one. Once again, I finish this one in the air, just to break the ending animation for my own amusement. So we're done here. Next stop is the Tokyo Streets minigame. Certainly the weirdest of the batch we're doing here. These rules make no sense. Destroy Sweet Tooth heads to unlock stars. Okay. So the subway, which has a paved road in it, is infested with giant, gyrating Sweet Tooth heads, as well as big spinning stars, and buggies that also have Sweet Tooth heads on them. But you're supposed to ignore those Sweet Tooth heads and shoot the giant ones with the power missiles that you're provided. Doing so will destroy them and give you 2 more power missiles. it'll also turn the nearest red star green and allow you to collect it, which is the goal. If you ever touch one of the Sweet Tooth heads, you die instantly. Not the buggies though, they'll just do a little bit of damage. And you cannot slow down except by ramming into a wall, so you've seen me do that intentionally quite a few times here. Collecting a star refills a bit of your health, and you can turn around to grab one if you drive past it, but it does start that 5-second timer that kills you if it runs out, so you have to be careful. And you have to do all of that in under a minute and a half. That's plenty of time to do 2 laps. I like to kill a bunch of heads on the first lap and then collect their stars the second time around, as well as cleaning up the remaining heads. If you had to do it all in 1 lap though, that would be really, really hard. Fortunately, that's not a problem. And now, the only minigame remaining is the one for the Tokyo Rooftops. It is a Tron race. We have to finish in first place after 3 laps, time notwithstanding. The enemies will drop mines on you, so death is a possibility if you're in too low of a place. And they will maintain a pretty rigid formation and try to box you out. But if you rub up against one of them, they will spin out and lose their place. Any that you take out in that manner, you don't have to worry about. You're never going to see them again. They're all very, very fast, but Spectre is faster. And there's no rubber banding. Once you get into first place, all you have to do is keep driving and not wipe out, and you'll win. There is a turn near the end of each lap that is not properly banked, and if you take it too sharply at this speed, your car will drift. By the time you regain traction, you might be facing one of the walls, and if you slam into it full speed, it's angled such that it is possible to get stuck on it for long enough that the enemies can catch up. In fact, I once got stuck on it permanently and completely ruined the run. But that obviously didn't happen here. That's how you unlock Hammerhead, and they throw in an extra life just for the hell of it. Why not at this point? It's not for doing anything above and beyond, like it was in Monaco. Just, if you get first place, you get an extra life. And now, we're gonna show some respect to Spectre by doing a little bit of combat with him for a couple of minutes. Spectre's been in every game up to this point except for Twisted Metal 4. And the 2012 remake also cut out Spectre. But for those 2 exceptions, he'd be as ubiquitous as Mr. Grimm and Sweet Tooth. And yet, I generally refuse to play as him, because he's kind of a boring car. The iconic Spectre special is the Ghost Missile. As we know well by now, it has the property of being able to home in on enemies through walls. Just make sure their indicator triangle turns red, and you've probably got a hit on your hands. Unless they activate their shield, or a destructible object gets in the way, or they juke at just the right angle at the right moment. But most of the time, it hits every time, for 13 points of damage, one of the lowest damage specials in the game. Obviously, the special weapon upgrade will improve that damage, more than double it in fact if you get a full charge. And the reliability of the special does mean it's actually possible to get that full charge every so often. Not so with many of the other charge specials, so that's decent at least. For best results, you'll want to get really far away from all the enemies, and spend all your time periodically holding and releasing one button. It's not fun, but it's pretty effective. I don't know what on earth Thumper is doing, but it looks like it's more fun than we're having. Not so much anymore, though. That just leaves Sweet Tooth, who is also plummeting to his death. I don't know what's going on here. Some kind of stock market crash or something. But it'll have this combat over pretty soon, whether we do anything or not. Sweet Tooth never goes quietly, though. He also just teleported through a wall up to the higher level of that building in order to dodge my special. So he's not even playing fair. But hey, neither am I. I'm coming in here with 4 lives. Just something our serial killer friend is not prepared for. He used a remote bomb to injure me, but destroy himself. That paves the way for the far more beloved character of Chucky Floop to win the contest. He's had himself a good long time to think about what he might want, so hopefully he's come up with something good. Also, pay attention to Spectre itself during this cutscene, because the most notable version difference will be visible. On the PSP, it had a big prominent spoiler that has since been removed.
Hey, DDC here, still broadcasting live from Tokyo as our big winner, Chucky Floop, continues his winning ways. That's right! First he wins our big radio giveaway, free entrance and a vehicle to use in, what was that called again? Twisted Metal. Oh yeah, Twisted Metal. And then he wins the whole dang thing! Who'd have thunk it?
Congratulations, Mr. Floop. You've won this year's Twisted Metal.
Here I am. Okay, winner, right? Big time. Not a loser. Winner.
It's okay, Chucky. You've won. Now you have but to claim your prize and celebrate your victory.
My prize? Dude, bro, you mean I win something?
Of course. For your prize, you may wish for anything your heart desires.
Anything? Dude, it all comes back to cash, bro. The greenbacks, a dead president, Somalis, clams! Haha, yeah! That's right, baby! Money!
Granted.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. Whoa! Uh-oh. Dude!
Capitalism kills, folks. Be sure to tell all your comrades so they don't end up like Chucky. Something tells me he's an especially uninformed individual, though. Hell, he hadn't even heard of Twisted Metal, the annual killing spree that has wreaked near-apocalyptic havoc on the entire globe for the past 12 years, which is almost his entire life. But alas, an ironic downfall awaits just about anyone who gets behind the wheel of Spectre.